Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Two Dudes with Attitudes Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Jason, and as always, this is
John.
And we are back. What is this, episode 5 now?
Yes, sir.
I think we are. Okay. Things are moving right along. Just like the wrestling world, it just keeps on going. It's been pretty eventful since last Thursday. We had a huge return last Friday on AEW. And then we followed the next night with a huge pay-per-view of SummerSlam. And then we finished out the weekend with NXT, which, like I said, we know I don't watch it, but there's been plenty of talk out of it and what's some big changes that are coming, supposedly.
Yes, sir.
How's your week been?
Oh, man, I tell you, ever since we did we did episode 4 Thursday, man, it has been just on fire in the wrestling world, man. I mean, it's just been a wrestling fan's dream this weekend, and it's not been too bad of a week. I mean, we've had a lot to talk about today.
Yeah. Like I said, a lot of returns, lots and lots of returns. And we got a bunch of rumors that are going around. Some rumors were hinted at last night at AEW Dynamite. And then really, like I said, Raw wasn't too bad this week. A couple interesting points came out of it. But I guess the first big news that we really should discuss is, and I'm sure the world knows by now, and can't really see yet, but John, you're wearing his shirt. Last Friday night, ladies and gentlemen, CM Punk returned after 7.5 years. 7.5 years. Very good opening. I thought that was the best way they could have done it. I know we had discussed that it probably would have been better at the end, but I think the way they did it was just perfect. So,
oh man, I tell you what, I mean the AEW did it right as far as, not waiting to the end, not waiting till mid card. They did it right by bringing him out right off the bat.
Yeah. It was very interesting. His promo was good. There's been some critics on it. Some people say that he pretty much wasted his whole topic on pretty much WWE, which he never called out WWE by name, but with all the subtle hints, it was basically bashing WWE the whole time. But I enjoyed it. I mean, I liked it. Not that I like that he's bashing WWE. No, but I mean, it's just like it's like anything. With like me and you with our regular jobs. The WWE did, if it wasn't for WWE, CM Punk wouldn't be where he is right now, no doubt. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
But, there is nothing wrong with, we don't know. We're only going by what we hear, of course. But, the way he was technically on his way out and, how he was treated supposedly, if all this really is true, then, he has all the right in the world, I think, to say what he wants to say, So.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. CM Punk was one of my favorite wrestlers in WWE once he went from when he was in straight edge society stuff,
right?
He was good there, but I really liked his character when he went, with CM Punk Best in the World.
Right.
We were fortunate enough, me and you were fortunate enough to see CM Punk while he was in WWE and as he was the champion at the time, I believe, or somewhere along those lines. If you remember that, we were in Indianapolis for that show as a Raw.
Yeah.
So it was a good time there.
Yeah, and if anybody's ever followed CM Punk's history, and I think his WWE's done some, he used to, when he was back in the indie scene, he used to do a bunch of course, Ring of Honor, but Ring of Honor's never been around here, but when there was a local promotion called IWA Mid-South Wrestling, and he used to do a bunch of wrestling there, and they've actually showed some clips from it on WWE over the years from, in the past when he was still there. And, it was just, that's where, to me, where it makes it more special. Because to see a guy to where he started, looking so young, had maybe 4 tattoos altogether on him, and then to where he's at now, it's cool. It hits home different. It's the same, with Batista, Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin. All three of those guys started in OVW here in Jeffersonville, and before they went to WWE. Of course, they were in indie scene as well, but they were here wrestling in an old beat up building, and to see where they're at now, especially Lesnar. So, but yeah, like I said, overall, we kind of figured as much. He ended up challenging Darby Allin, so they're going to fight at All Out September 5th. I think it'll be a good match. Going in, I know he's going to speak about Dynamite a little bit later, but going into Dynamite this week, CM Punk talked about it. I know they're doing it for the storyline ways, but I feel like, I don't know, unless it really is true, but some of the stuff he was talking about, how one of the reasons he came back is because of Darby Allin, I'm kind of like, I feel like that's just part of the storyline. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. He did make comment, though, there. He has some unfinished business back there in the locker room.
Right.
That who that is, you at least wanted to speculate because, there are some superstars from WWE that was there when he was in WWE. So,
right.
Perhaps that's what he's talking about, but, who knows?
Yeah, it makes it sound like he made it pretty much sound like he wants to come back for the younger talent, to wrestle with him. And you hear that a lot anyways, because you talk about wrestlers now that talk about the past, who they could have wrestled in their prime if they could have, so I think I'm glad he's back. I think we all are. He did supposedly, if anybody knows what Pro Wrestling Tees is, they sell a lot of wrestlers T-shirts online. But they must have set 2 records that night with the most shirts sold in one day, and then I think something else or whatever. But 2 records were set that night with CM Punk returning. So glad to see him back.
And I believe it was either Pro Wrestling Tees or AEW or both. Sites were crashed, man. They crashed out within minutes of him coming out. So
yeah, because supposedly they said that they didn't release the shirt that he had wearing, the I Was There T-shirt. They didn't have it on sale when the show first started because they didn't want fans to ruin it. They knew that he was going to be there. So after he came out and did his promo, they put the T-shirts on sale. I haven't went back and watched it again, but they said if you do watch it, you can see a lot of the fans, like a lot of the seats were empty because fans were trying to get down there to get the T-shirts right after his promo. So it's kind of interesting to know.
Oh, definitely. And so, we had CM Punk come back, and they did, they got the ratings back off that show, and they did exceptionally well. I think it was, I want to say it was 1 point something million.
I think it was like 1.1, 1.2 or something like right around there.
Their demo was like 0.5 something. It was really good for them.
I think SmackDown did more that night, but their demo rating was the same, right about the close to the same. I don't know. I don't follow a whole lot with the ratings. I don't know how all that really works on the demo, but I think the demo is pretty much like their key core audience that they tend to push more for, like the 18, I think the 42 or something. I don't know exactly what the numbers is, but yeah.
So we were in Chicago Friday night for Punk's return at the what is that? I don't remember the arena name. United Center. Yeah, United Center. So now we're going to fly to the West Coast.
All right.
And we're going to end up at SummerSlam.
So we're going to go into SummerSlam now?
Yeah, we'll go into SummerSlam.
That's going to be what majority of our topic is today.
Right.
I'm good with it.
Okay, well, in resolve to SummerSlam and the weekend, stuff like that, let's see here now. All right, so there was speculation that let's see here. Okay, so we go to I'm sorry, man. We go to SummerSlam, and we're hopeful that we get to see a lot of good matches, right? We're really looking forward to some matches. And
talking about SummerSlam?
Yeah. We went to SummerSlam, the Alliance Stadium, massive stadium. The crowd there was 51,365. It was like a huge, one of the biggest, right? I think for SummerSlam.
I mean, it probably is because they did. I think that's one of the biggest arenas they've done it in.
Right.
Because they did it at Legion Stadium, which is the big, or is the new Raiders football stadium. So I don't know how many it could have. Well, without.
That's what they said.
Yeah. Well, I say it's probably right though, because I don't think they've really ever like went all out for a SummerSlam. But the talks were that they were going to try and make this year SummerSlam like WrestleMania. So it makes sense. Makes sense for sure. So, and I'm sure they probably had to. I don't know if COVID like changed any of it on how much more seats they could have maybe added. I mean, it did kind of like, if you did watch it, the floor did kind of look pretty open in some areas. I don't know if they did it for that reason or
yeah, I did. I did see that.
It really seemed weird. I mean, WrestleManias looked like that a little bit, but it just seemed like it was extra open this time around. But maybe it was just me. So
no, it did look a little open. That's for sure.
Yeah. I guess I know one thing that we talked about. I don't, everybody that's listening right now. Saturday night we did do a pre-show. We did a live stream on Facebook. It was on my Facebook. But if you joined us for that, we talked a lot of stuff leading up to SummerSlam that night. But I think we all, because we had special guest Chris, buddy of mine, lives down in Florida. But I think we all agreed that the entrance was very lackluster.
Oh,
I feel like, it wasn't, I wonder if it was planned that whole time. I mean, they had the big SummerSlam logo behind in the back that they, the video screen they used, which wasn't bad, but I don't know if it's just the way the arena's set up or, maybe they didn't have enough time in advance to get in there, to do something fancy or, I don't know. But It just seems like, it almost reminds you of Royal Rumble at Madison Square Garden, where they had a real small entrance and they just had to use, what they had. But this one had a hell of a long entrance, but, just kind of lackluster.
Well, and you go to Madison Square Garden, we expect that because we know how it's set up.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
But you go to this huge arena, you would think that there would be, a massive entranceway, but, I guess at the Royal Rumble, and what was that, Houston in 2020?
Yeah.
They came out of like a dugout or something.
Right.
Of course, I think it was at a baseball stadium, anyways. But
yeah.
But still,
and they could have done it too. Like I think one reason we talked that they might have done it is they try to do it so they can get as more fans in there as well to see if they can sell more tickets and and try to put more seats on the ground. But that makes sense. I mean, we're not there for the entrance, no, but at the same time, for what they're capable of doing, it seems like they would have went a little bit more. But
I see.
But yeah, so I mean, pretty much going into the card. Only on the pre-show, the only pre-show match was what was the pre-show match?
It was Baron Corbin versus Big E.
Big E, yep. Big E came out on top on that one. He did get his. Huh?
Oh no, you're fine. Go ahead.
Oh, Baron Corbin came out. Or now you got me all confused. Big E came out on top. Got his Money in the Bank briefcase back. I guess I know we talked about doing like news and rumors. We're gonna keep those towards the end, but since we're talking about Baron Corbin for a minute, I don't know if you've seen they're talking about they're supposed to do a major twist with his character. Supposedly they did a bunch of videos in Vegas, and I think they're gonna do. It looks like they're gonna do something where he probably hit it big or something. I know he put some. He put some videos. Some stuff out. Yeah, I've seen those. But I wonder if, like I said, they're going to use that to go somewhere. So that'll be to be seen. But supposedly,
and they very well could be.
Yeah. So getting into the actual show, the opener. It was the tag team titles, correct?
Yes, sir. Raw Tag Team Championships were on the line.
Yeah, Orton and the Bro versus AJ Styles and Omos. How'd you think about that match? Do you think it was pretty good? Do you think it was lackluster?
I think it was a little lackluster in my opinion. I mean, others might think it was good, but I mean, here's the thing, man. I mean, if you really paid attention to the match, they stayed with AJ Styles almost the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, Omos did get in the ring a few times, But as far as actually wrestling, it was more of either Orton and AJ or Bro and AJ, Matt Riddle.
Correct.
I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like you got almost there. You need to do something, more with him. I don't know. I just, it wasn't a bad match, but it just wasn't a match that I thought was, fantastic or anything.
Yeah. Outcome. I mean, we know that the Randy Orton and Riddle won the tag titles. I think we all guessed that's probably pretty much what was going to happen. I thought they maybe could have pulled a swerve last minute and had Orton turn on Riddle, but that was just kind of a last minute guess on my end. But I didn't. The hype's been too much on them. I think one of the biggest reasons they're moving along with them as champions is they're probably selling a lot of merchandise, and that's a big thing for them. But overall, like I said, it wasn't a bad match. Predictable outcome. But overall, it'll be interesting to see where they do go with them and how long they'll extend it. So I think it'll be a little good program to, a couple months worth.
Right.
We know they don't push the tag titles or the tag team division as hard as they used to. So
no, not at all.
I
believe the next match was the I want to say it was the Alexa Bliss match. I think.
Is that one next?
I'm not real sure off the top of my head. I think it is, because I know at some point we get the Usos and stuff later on.
Yeah, right here. Okay, yeah. So the second match was Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie.
Right.
I never want to sit here and down any of the wrestlers that's in the business. Because they are doing it for our entertainment, but. Surprised that match happened early on as it is, because I don't think a lot of people were excited for that match. And usually those kind of matches that don't really have much hype, they use like as kind of a later on in the match to kind of, give everybody a break to kind of go, bathroom break, I guess we call it. So I was kind of surprised they had it early on. Not that I don't think they could have had good potential. I just don't feel like the crowd was never really behind it. I think everybody's starting to. I like Alexa Bliss. I like the character, but I think we're all come to terms that they're just the way they've handled it. I mean, they've not done nothing with it. Do they not have something in mind what they want to do? Or are they just going with it for now? I don't know, but. I mean, if you did watch Raw, of course, like I said, we'll get a little bit into Raw after this and all that. But, it looks like where they're going with Alexa Bliss most likely. But we'll get into that when we talk about Raw. But overall, Alexa Bliss won. And then we kind of got at the end there that Dewdrop, whatever they're calling her now, Skylar. Is that her?
Her name in NXT UK was Piper Nevitt.
Piper. I don't know where I got Skylar from.
And now she's, and of course we'll get into it on Raw when we get to the Raw side of it, but she is staying with Dewdrop. So
yeah, but as we kind of, at least I know I guessed that we, just the way they were going last few weeks, she turned on Eva Marie at the end. So it looks like they're most likely going to build a feud between them. So
right,
we'll see. But so far, going into that match, I mean, we, really wasn't nothing really too much exciting yet. The next match was Sheamus and Damian Priest for the U.S. title. Another match, wasn't nothing I was too pumped for. Again, I think we all had the same conclusion on this one. Damian Priest did walk out as the new U.S. title champion. He's been getting too much hype that it looked like there was, just didn't look like he was not going to win. I think he'll be a decent champion. I kind of liked his character at first when they brought him, but I feel like he's kind of been lackluster lately. Or more of not maybe him so much, just what they've done with him.
Right.
They've been very random with him, but it wasn't a bad match. I think overall it was okay. Like I said, he did win the title. But overall, I'd say I'd give it about a 7 out of a 10 match. So
right. I mean, the match itself did have, pretty decent build up, I guess you could say. Sheamus hadn't defended that title except for one time since he won it back in, oh Lord, I forget when he won the damn thing.
yeah, I don't.
But he defended it once. I mean, no, I know he had a broken nose and everything, but I'm glad they got the title off of him.
Yes. Now, the one thing I didn't like about the match that I don't know, they had to do it a certain way, but I feel like they screwed up. It was a screw up moment when Priest took his mask off him. Like, Sheamus just sit there and didn't, try to stop him from taking it off. And then he flipped out when he ripped it off. And I was kind of like, that was just kind of odd looking.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe he's just in shock that somebody pulled it off of him.
Yeah. Well, it's like he didn't even put his hands up because it took him a couple seconds to get it off his head. But it's like he never even attempted to try to stop him from taking it off. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, like I said, not a bad little match. Still. Overall, SummerSlam, those first 3 matches were okay, but it wasn't nothing that we were still getting excited yet. And then the next match. Now, I know you said this during the night before we get in this next match that their pacing was a little bit different that night. Didn't it seem? I think you said it seemed like they were moving pretty fast. It seemed. I mean, they did have 10 matches, but.
Yeah, they were moving really quick. I mean, the thing about it was you had a card that started at 8 Eastern Standard Time, which was
that threw me off.
Like 5 o'clock Pacific Time.
And I think we all figured it was probably going to end about 11.
You want to know? Now that you mentioned that, you want to know why they started the card so early? And
you mean late?
Well, late for us, but early for them in the Pacific Time.
Well, it was 5 o'clock their time, so it wasn't really too early.
They were trying to get him out of there before the Pacquiao fight.
Oh, okay.
Because the Pacquiao fight was going on at the MGM Grand.
Yeah, but that's kind of that. Now that is a lot farther away, but that is surprising. I mean, we still figured if it was going to last till midnight, which it did, they should have started it at 7 o'clock. Because, like I said before, that's what they've usually done for SummerSlam. Right. So I don't understand. I mean, I know it would have been 4 o'clock there, but it was a Saturday, so it's not like you were trying to fight rush hour on a Friday night. So I don't know. I'm sure there's more to it behind the scenes on what all come about, but
let's see here now. We covered those 3 matches, so now what are we going into now? I think it's the SmackDown Championship.
The SmackDown titles, yeah. Rey Mysterio, Dominic versus the Usos. I think we were both kind of surprised. I thought maybe this would have been the pre-show match. Just because, I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I think everybody probably most likely figured that the Usos weren't going to lose the belts. I don't know where they're going to go now with the Mysterios. But like I said, the Usos did retain. It was an okay match. I mean, for the Usos and the Mysterio, well, at least for Ray wise, they do some good maneuvers. Because the Usos they do a lot of flying and stuff. So, and then Rey Mysterio, you know how he is. He's little and does all kinds of craziness. But overall, not a bad little match. But
it definitely, I think it could have been a pre-show match instead of a main card match. Yeah. The one thing about it, though, I will say is, it's just like we got the same match over again. I've been beating a dead horse with this match for the last couple of SmackDowns. And whether it's one-on-one with a different, with a different one or, together in a tag team match. But it looks like, in my opinion, that it looks like they're looking to split the Mysterios up.
Yeah, I think we discussed that a little bit on the last episode. That's what I think is going to end up happening. I wonder if they're going to after seeing what happened on Raw and what happened on SummerSlam, I don't see them going the route of turning on each other. I just think one of them's going to get split up in the draft because there's already from Raw and SummerSlam, as we'll get into. We've already talked about one where Doudrop turned on her, but there's already been a lot of teams that are turning on each other. So I don't see them going that route again. You know what I'm saying? With them already doing a couple other ones, but you never know. So I do think it'll most likely be because of the draft, most likely. So and then we had an odd, very random moment. Rick Boogs came out and introduced King Nakamura. We did not understand where that was going, and it didn't go anywhere, evidently. I don't know if they just wanted to, I'd say kill time, but they didn't really need to do that. I mean, I don't know.
To keep that time. I mean, that was probably a good
2
or 3 minutes worth of time they could have used up somewhere else.
Yeah. And there's another segment here later as we go through that they did something silly, and it was just, were they doing it just for the funny factor? The other one I can understand more of the funny factor. This one I don't get. I mean, I guess if you want to get excited for Pat McAfee, getting on the announcer table and dancing, but it was just, I don't know, overall it was kind of ridiculous to me. But
right. Speaking of Pat McAfee, since you brought that up, I read yesterday, and he is supposedly tested positive for COVID. So, thoughts and prayers go out to him. Hopefully gets a speedy recovery out of this deal. So.
Yeah, I wonder what their speaking on that. I wonder what their policy is, because going into this next match in a minute, which is the women's champion for SmackDown, we still don't really know technically what's going on with Sasha Banks. If it is COVID related, and even for him, I wonder, like, if he tests positive today and tests, come tomorrow. I'm sure he's had it before today, but if he comes tomorrow and he tests negative, I wonder if they go ahead and allow it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they test every day and allow it, or if they still make sure, even when, if he has to wait so many days after he tests negative before he can actually return. But
I don't know. Supposedly they test them every event.
Yes, that's what I've heard too.
And I think once they test positive, they're out. They got to go. I don't know that to be 100%, but we'll find out.
That's what I'm saying. It might depend on who it is, and I don't know.
Because there was a lot of speculation involving the women's match and why Sasha wasn't there.
Yeah.
Originally she was supposed to be there, which we reported in episode 4,
right,
on the last podcast, and then come to find out that next day, she was supposed to be in SmackDown. She was not there. And then, of course, we find out here in just a minute, we'll discuss this part of it, so.
Yeah.
Most people already probably know that obviously she wasn't there for the main of the match between her and Bianca.
Yeah, it was very, very odd. I mean, I guess we can most likely, rule the reason as to why they never really ruled her out is because if they came out and told that she wasn't going to be there, then it probably would have assumed, the big return that happened at SummerSlam, which everybody already knows now. The man returned at SummerSlam. They did set it up to look like it was going to be Belair versus Carmella, which, I mean,
well, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, honestly, I don't know why, they would have going to go that route. I mean, they did the pre-show and everything, or not the pre-show, but the little the
kickoff show.
No, not the kickoff show. I'm talking about the highlights, showing Sasha and Belair leading up, and then they wait until Belair comes and gets in the ring, and then they announce that Sasha's not going to be there. And then they said her opponent's going to be Carmella. So then at that point, we're both like, all right, well, they're just going to have, this is going to be a squash match, in and out, and then Belair gets on the microphone and starts talking a little trash about Sasha, saying that she'll get her time and eventually. And then the music hits, and she returns. I think, like I said, I think you said it was reported that they knew 8 days out. Correct?
Yeah, they knew the report I read was that they knew 8 days out that Sasha was not going to be able to compete at SummerSlam. So therefore, I question, you know, where the report came from of, well, her and Belair have been cleared and they'll be at the match. You know what I'm saying? So that doesn't make any sense. So unless, somebody accidentally said they were both cleared, to compete, I don't know. But I mean, they knew 8 days in advance, then, I guess they wanted to keep it up to hide Becky from being the big surprise, I guess.
I don't know. The whole situation overall is weird. But of course, the match Becky did end up beating up Carmella, knocked her out of the ring and everything, and then she got in the ring and offered Belair to see if she'd want to fight her for the belt, which makes no sense because if you do the commissioners or whoever they are now, they said it ain't up to the wrestlers to make these matches, it's up to us. But then they can just sit here and let Becky Lynch just be like, hey, I want a title match. Cool, well, here you go. But
yeah,
whatever.
Especially because Becky
was on Raw.
Is a Raw brand person. I mean, if you look at the roster online, she's still on the Raw brand. So
I know.
That's nuts.
But she, they did start the bell. Becky Lynch hit her with an elbow. Just kind of caught her off guard. And then when Belair came back at her, she hit her finisher on her. And bam, that was it. 26 seconds later. Very, very, very odd decision. And a lot of criticism online, a lot of criticism from us. They're pretty much saying that everything Belair built up to, they just destroyed it in 26 seconds. But now there is, I guess we might as well talk about it now. It can be like a news and rumor part, but there is a lot of talk that Becky Lynch wanted to go heel. And
yes,
even though she got a very big pop, nobody took it as her being a heel, but that's most likely where they're going to go with her now. And it was Vince McMahon's idea to pull that punch and, for that real quick finish. I don't know. I think it was disastrous.
Oh, it was disastrous. They absolutely destroyed Bianca's credibility.
Yep.
They destroyed everything that young lady had worked for in one fell swoop for nothing.
Yeah. They talk about how she, here she lasted, like 50 minutes, I think, in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And then gets beat in 26 seconds for one move. Come on.
By a person that just came back from maternity leave. Now, don't get me wrong. Becky looked good.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But is Becky in-ring ready yet? I mean, I've heard a lot of people say and speculate she's not. That's why they did a quick match like that, because she's not fully ready for, a 12-minute match. But at the same time, you could have used Carmella and had Becky beat Carmella, made a 3-way match or something.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? To save Bianca. Yes. Right, to save her.
Bianca and Becky Lynch too.
Right.
So, yeah.
But they didn't. They decided to crush Belair, which was and they're catching a hell of a lot of heat on that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything on the whole thing with her not being able to wrestle a match. I highly doubt that, because I feel like if they didn't believe that, they wouldn't have brought her back already.
Right.
But I don't know. It just that's what goes to the whole point of the whole thing with Nakamura before. Like, you could have easily have had a good 10-minute match. I mean, you didn't have to make it a 30-minute match between them. But you could have easily had 10 minutes. So don't sit here and say you didn't have time to put that in the card,
Oh, yeah.
But it just, I don't know. I mean, it's the same way with Charlotte Flair. I know everybody loves Becky Lynch, but I don't see the hype about her. I'm not saying she's not a good wrestler, because I think she is, but I don't know. I don't get all the hype over her.
I don't know either. I mean, it was just a horrible outcome for Bianca for sure.
And then after the match, they just sit here and had to let her just reign and reign and reign forever, showing her and let's keep her on TV for 30 minutes before her celebrating. So
right.
So I don't know, But it went from a shock to like what the hell kind of moment, you know.
Right. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
And then they did announce right after that, which everybody's kind of got their own opinion on it, but they are going back to Saudi Arabia in October.
Yeah, for the crown jewel.
Yeah. I've never really watched the last two they had. I most likely probably won't watch this one.
I agree there.
But it is what it is. And then we had so we talked about the Alexa Bliss match earlier being the kind of the bathroom break kind of match. So I guess if you think about it, the next match.
This next one was too.
Yes, Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre. I do give them credit because they did have a legit storyline behind it for this match with there being a friendship and all this and that. But I think this match was put together more they wanted to be able to give Drew a match to put him on the card.
Right.
They didn't want to not have him. How do you not put him in there? But at the same time, who else could they have feuded him with? Of course, they could have went many different directions, but yeah, I basically think they just did that to get him in the card, which, like I said, Drew McIntyre did walk out winner. No surprise there. From Raw, it looks like it's maybe over, but we don't know yet, so we'll see. Next match was the Raw's tag team. Or no, not the Raw tag team. The women's title, which was Nikki Ash, Charlotte Flair, and Rhea Ripley. Now going into this match, we all had well, you and Chris had your two who you both thought Charlotte would win. I honestly thought that Nikki Ash would keep the champion. But even then, we all three thought this would be the top toss-up match of the night because they could have really went either route. But of course, just like Becky Lynch, they had to give Charlotte Flair the title back. Is it the best move? I don't know. When we get into Raw here in a few minutes, it kind of looks like where they're going. It looks like most likely this feud is over. That they are going new directions. But I really feel like they ruined having the whole Money in the Bank. They could have used that Money in the Bank for the women's and men's. I know we still got the men's out there, but here we are going into crowds again now, so they could have held on to that for a while. But I just don't understand why they put her as they gave Nikki Ash the Money in the Bank, let her cash it in to win, and then turn around and take the title back off of her. That's just ignorant to me. They could have easily have put her. They could have easily put Nikki Ash in the title match, even if she didn't win the Money in the Bank. But they still could have put her in a triple threat. But I know everybody just didn't want to see another Ripley and Flair match. I get that, but I don't know. I feel like they ruined that chance with the Money in the Bank for the women's. But
yeah, I agree with you there. It's I don't know what they see in Charlotte so damn much. I don't know, man. It is what it is, but I'm with you. I feel like they wasted that Money in the Bank. And I honestly feel like they wasted using Nikki Ash for that. It's just kind of like they couldn't put it right back on Charlotte like immediately, like they wanted to. Right. They did it at Money in the Bank because she beat Rhea Ripley for the belt, and then the next night turned around and lost it.
Right.
And then we come back to SummerSlam and they put it back on her. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know if they're just trying to, get instant reaction kind of stuff here lately. Because that's WWE's always known for, well, take exception to the last year and a half, I guess, but they've always been known for their champions to be the champions for a while.
Right.
Now they're, I get the element of surprise, but when you keep changing the title back and forth to the same people, it kind of gets boring.
Right.
But so the next match was Edge versus Seth Rollins.
I had high hopes for this match.
Yeah, I said I thought it would be the match of the night. It did start off slow. I still think it was a good match. Edge's entrance was top notch, man. I mean, with the old Brood entrance, that was really cool. Speaking of that, I just read today.
Oh, yes, sir. Go ahead.
You read about Gangrel?
Yes, sir. I was thinking the same thing when you said
supposedly,
that.
and this is odd, and I'm like, it just makes me wonder, did WWE get a hint of this for some odd reason? But Gangrel was originally supposed to have been at Dynamite this week, and they were going to do something with his fire and entrance and everything, but since WWE just did it, they scrapped it all. So I'm kind of like, it's just, I don't know. He said it's all timing, and it could have just been luck of the draw, but that really that was kind of odd when I read that today. So
yeah, I was thinking the same thing. But see, the thing about that is you would have had Christian there, which would have been like two members of the Brood.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, it'd have been interesting to have seen. But yeah, I read that just before we came on the air, and I'm like, son of a buck, man, that's cool.
I saw it earlier because they were talking about how Gangrel was reacting about it. And I'm like, I ain't gonna read this article. I'm like, I don't really worry too much. And then another article popped up saying that supposedly he was going to do that, and I'm like, oh, let's read this now. So that's kind of interesting. But
yeah, like I said, Edge's interest was cool, but they ruined it though.
Yeah, I didn't like the fact that they went into his regular music. I think they could have, because even his whole like outfit and gear was made as Broods. Like, why not just keep the whole persona going for the whole, even the entrance too?
Right. Because I mean, he said on SmackDown that Rollins pushed him to the dark place that he didn't want to go, and now he's supposed to be this dark place, and he comes out as the Brood.
Yeah.
And then you ruin it by taking him back to Edge. I'm like, well, what the hell? He hadn't even gotten the match yet.
Yeah. Like I said, the match did start off kind of slow. I think it did get really good match towards the end. I think overall, I think Edge was the right person to have win that match. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I guess Edge had more of a reason to win because he's lost, his last couple matches. But at the same time, like Rollins didn't have it really wasn't going to do much for Rollins to win that match either,
Right.
But not to, like I said, I know we got some like a little bit news and rumors, but I don't know if you saw today, but supposedly Edge's name on WWE.com is under the Raw section. Did you hear about that? They're saying he's going to Raw.
No, but I figured he would.
Yeah, they said they don't know if it's a mistake right now, but if you look on the website, he's listed as a Raw superstar, so they think that he's most likely going to go there for the draft, which makes sense. But there's something else I want to talk about later that we'll get to here later on. That I didn't read the article, but from what from the headline of it, seemed pretty interesting. Talking about for the draft wise, what they're going to do. So that was that match. Like I said, pretty good match. Edge did defeat him. That match ended up being 21 minutes long, so that was a pretty good match. They did announce that next year for the 4th of July weekend that Money in the Bank will be returning for Las Vegas. I'm really going to try to go to that one. And it's kind of funny because they're saying 4th of July weekend, and I remember when I looked that up, 4th of July is on a Monday, and I'm like, that's kind of odd, but if the rumor is right from what we talked about in our last episode, starting in January, they are supposed to be going all pay-per-views to Saturday nights. So I think that's why they didn't technically say that it would be that Saturday night, because I don't think they want to release that yet.
Right.
But I do believe that's what's going to happen. So, and I like the Saturday nights too. I think it'll actually help them altogether for all their pay-per-views. I think it'll get more people to join, or more fans, because if it is something like on a Saturday and somebody wants to fly in from out of town, they can do it on a Saturday night and go back home on a Sunday and not have to worry about missing work on Monday. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that'll be a good one. Here was the second kind of area that I feel like was pointless, where they just trying to fill a gap in, which we know we could have just done with the Women's Championship, but no, they did not do that. wanted to do that in 23 seconds or 26 or whatever it was. But Miz and Morrison came out, did their little silliness. At the beginning of the night, they did show them in the back. They drove in a water truck, but supposedly they came up with this new idea of some kind of water gun thing. What was it called? The Dripstick 2000. I'm sorry, not a water gun.
Yeah.
But supposedly neither one of them had it. The other was supposed to have it. One didn't. Blah, blah, blah. Which brought out New Day, which that brings up a good point. But it was only Xavier Woods. There was no Kofi Kingston. So there's a lot of talk, wondering where Kofi's been and what's going on. But supposedly he is injured, but he was supposed to be there as well. And they were going to, because Xavier Woods was dressed up as Scott Hall, and I think, I don't know if Kofi would have been Kevin Nash or somebody else part of the Wolf Pack or whatever they were. So I don't know where they would have went with it, but Kofi Kingston was not there. But just a little segment and maybe to them that was their segment to like get the fans to get like, a break or something. You know it?
Right. Yeah. Well, part of that was they said because the Alliance Stadium, the car is all cashless, so they just take cards, right? Debit cards. Well, their system crashed and nobody could buy anything.
That's right. I remember you telling me about that now.
So they couldn't get any drinks or anything like that. So, that would suck. So
right.
We'll have to see what they. We'll have to see what's going on there.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And then the co-main event, which really surprised. As WWE goes, they don't do this too often, but having both world championship matches, the Raw title match and the SmackDown, they had the last two matches. Kind of surprised they went that route. Usually they split them up a little bit, especially because I feel like the whole Bobby Lashley and Goldberg wasn't hyped that much, but I mean, they did, but they didn't. So right. I figured they didn't. But that was the co-main event, Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg. I don't know. Like, this match was another odd match. The finish was pretty much Lashley did win, but it was a no contest. They ended the match early because Goldberg's leg was pretty much too hurt to continue. It was not a legit injury or nothing. It was, part of the show, but it makes me wonder if they just did it so they can save Goldberg from not getting another loss. We did talk.
That's what I heard. That was a lot of talk that they did it on purpose so he wouldn't take another loss like that.
That's what we did talk about in the last episode. That we most likely didn't think Goldberg was going to win, but he did lose his last match too. So it's like him losing both matches, would that hurt his credibility? So they kind of went the cheap way out. And then, of course, Goldberg's son, which I thought would have been more involved in the match, did pop up in the ring after to try to help his dad a little bit. And then Lashley put the Hurt Lock on him. But that was kind of weird on how they reacted to that with MVP and stuff. I'm kind of like, I don't know, the way he was tripping out, acting like it was all a bad thing or something. I don't know. That was kind of odd. But it is what it is. There was rumors before going into Raw that most likely Goldberg was going to come back and they were going to have a rematch. And I guess they still could go that way after seeing what happened on Raw. But I don't know. From how Raw went, I feel like they just went totally away from it.
Well, I think somewhere, I think it was a Frightful Selects podcast or whatever, was talking that they think that match is going to happen at the Saudi Arabia dealio.
Goldberg.
Yeah.
Well, I read too that if it did happen, like if they did do it, that it was most likely setting up that Goldberg's going to win the title. I don't know why, but that is what I'm hearing.
Well, we'll get into that part here in just on like news and rumors part. I got something about that. So.
You think it's a rumor, huh?
No, I don't think that's a rumor about that. I got something that goes with that.
Oh, okay. All right. But like I said, Lashley did retain championship. So then we get into the main event, of course, Roman Reigns and John Cena. This did end up being the match of the night in all of our opinions. I think they did a very, very good job of the match. Cena hit how many not F5? Attitude. What is it? Attitude adjustment. What do I call his?
Yeah, he attitude adjustment.
There you go. I know he's changed it over the time. How many did he end up hitting?
He hit, I think, 3 or 4 of them. One was like a super AA.
Yeah,
from
one
like
was
the
off the
rope
top. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Great match. A lot of back and forth. There was a lot of moments that you swear you almost thought the referee was going to count 3 at one point, and they made it look good.
Oh yeah, and a lot of roll-ups too at the beginning with Cena. He really went all balls to the wall with trying to roll him up so quick.
Yeah, because that was his whole thing. That's how he was going to beat him, was into a roll-up for the 1, 2, 3.
Right.
But one of our shock, which was a good thing they did it, but Roman Reigns did win clean. He hit Cena with the spear. The match went about 23 minutes. I think that's about a good timing altogether. But like I said, he did win clean, which I think that was kind of a shock to us.
It definitely was, man. I mean, I know both of us were like, what? He won clean?
Yeah. And then Cena kind of got out of the ring quick. Didn't really put 2 and 2 together, but the next thing you know, Brock Lesnar's music hits. I mean, I know we were talking on the phone, and I just went wild. And it's funny because you're a couple seconds behind me, and you're like, bro, calm down. What are you doing? The next thing you know, Brock Lesnar hits on yours, and you're like, whoa.
That was totally out of the blue, man.
It really was. I mean, like, you know, you can sit here and say, well, if we get into the whole talk of it, you know, from what I've heard, nothing has really been said yet, but was it a reaction to CM Punk's return on Friday night? It's hard to say. I mean, it really is, because, I mean, like I said, nobody online anywhere predicted he was. Most of them was like, he's not going to be there. You know, I mean, if anything, he wasn't going to probably show up maybe until later in the fall or beginning of next year. So it is kind of interesting. And, you know, it might never come out. With today's world, though, I think it will, as to, you know, was it a reaction or not. But Lesnar did came to the ring face-to-face with Roman Reigns. I don't know if it was too much of a sell by Paul Heyman with what he did, but it was, you know, it was worthy. I almost thought maybe for a minute there that at one point when they were all 3 in the ring, if Heyman would have hit Reigns from behind and then, you know, and maybe left with Brock Lesnar. I don't know if that would have been interesting to see, or if, you know, they will go that route, you know, eventually when they do fight. But yeah, that was, like I said, I'm really surprised that they brought both of them back, because usually they don't do 2 big returns like that in the same night. But they did need something at the end. The only thing about that whole thing, though, is I'm just disappointed that the way they just handled Cena at the end, like they just rolled him out of the ring and was like, we're done with him. And then I don't know if everybody saw it, but they did show footage of Brock Lesnar did do the F5 to Cena, I think once or twice. But that was after the camera stopped rolling. So I don't know. I think it was just kind of feel a little dirty on how they did Cena. I'm not a Cena really fan, but I feel like all the hype and everything, they just kind of blah at the end there with him. So
yeah, I mean, you know, Cena, he did his job on what he wanted to do with it. I'm glad Reigns won clean. That just really solidified him as a heel.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, with Lesnar coming out, that was a shock because, like you said, nobody had been talking about Lesnar anymore. Like it stopped, like well before SummerSlam ever happened. It just went cold. So for them to hide it that well, and honestly, like his contract stuff just came out today apparently, because I saw it this evening when I was eating dinner. The Sportskeeda we're talking about Brock's contract details and everything. I haven't had a chance to read anything about it or watch it yet, but I'm just curious to see what his details are in his contract.
I'm sure it's probably like his previous one.
But from what I understand, and we'll get to this, in news and rumors, I guess, but an interesting twist with Lesnar. It looks like they're going to go. So we'll get into that here in a little bit.
All right, so that was pretty much the whole pay-per-view. If you gave it a rating out of a 10, what would you give it?
Man, I'd give it probably about an 8.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. I
think
they finished it. I mean,
it started out slow and ended good.
Yeah, the main event solidified it. I think, the way they went, I think is what made it a good pay-per-view. It's just a lot of the matches were pretty predictable for the most part. But overall, I think they did a pretty good job on it. I kind of wish, I feel like they should have kept the draft where they originally were going to do it at the end of this month,
right?
Because I feel like that would have did better instead of waiting another month. And now we got to we're most likely going to see a couple of the same feuds building up into the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. But
right, I agree with that.
Which that is the next pay-per-view, of course.
Right, September 26th.
Yeah.
Which is a Sunday, by the way.
Yeah, because they're not going to start the Saturdays until next Monday or next year. But I'll let you take over this next one. The NXT pay-per-view was Sunday night. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of NXT. Never really got into it. I know you watched it. Chris watched it.
NXT 36 TakeOver. And if you remember, everybody from the last podcast, we were talking about them doing some major overhaul, major changes to the NXT brand. From what I've read, everybody seems to be on that. This was going to be their last pay-per-view as we know NXT now.
Yes.
And everything that they've built it up on. So, excuse me. So NXT 36 pay-per-view was Sunday right after SummerSlam. So it wrapped up the weekend for SummerSlam. They did have a lot of good matches. I will say, though, that probably one of the better matches that they had was not even from guys that are in the United States NXT. And we'll get to that in just a second. So basically the first match of the night was Cameron Grimes versus LA Knight. The stipulation was if LA Knight beats Grimes, then Ted DiBiase gets to be his butler. And if Grimes wins, he's the $1 million champion. And on such, Cameron Grimes ended up coming out victorious, which I kind of seen it coming.
Yeah.
So he ends up winning that. And that belt's now Grimes is the $1 million champion. But we'll get into that. That something happens with that on Tuesday. But we'll get into that. It's very short. And this is, like I said, this all stems from what they're going to be doing, this rebranding stuff.
Right.
Let's see what else. Rochelle Gonzalez retains the NXT Women's Champion, beats Dakota Kai, which I found a little bit surprising. And so did Chris, too, because we were, the way the rumors had it back some time ago was Karrion Kross was going to be coming to Raw. She was coming to the main roster. I'm sorry. Kross was coming to the main roster.
Right.
So was Rochelle Gonzalez. So we thought for sure she was going to drop that belt to Dakota Kai. Well, apparently the plans have changed because she ended up retaining that belt against Dakota Kai, which was interesting because now the speculation is Dakota Kai's coming to the main roster because all of a sudden she disappears real quick and then a new competitor from for the title comes out. And I don't remember her name. She's from NXT UK. Chris knows who she is.
Yeah.
But she comes out, and it looks like the route they're going. Let's see what else. Then we have the NXT UK Championship. Walter, who's held the belt for like 900 days, man. Held the title. Yeah, 900 days he's held that belt. Versus, it's I can't remember his last name. He's got a Russian name. That was an excellent match. Like probably the best match of the night, honestly.
Yeah.
And we're crowning a new UK champion. The Russian ends up beating Walter, so it ended his 900 about his 900-day championship reign. New UK champion crowned at NXT. They wanted to do it on US TV. So, then we had O'Reilly versus Adam Cole in a three series match. First match was a regular wrestling match, which O'Reilly won.
Yeah.
And then the second match was a street fight, which I believe it was either O'Reilly hit that or Cole hit it. I think Cole ended up winning that match.
Yeah, he won one, and they both won one apiece.
And then they went to the cage fight. And the cage fight was good, but the finish was awful.
Really?
Somehow O'Reilly handcuffs Cole to the ropes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And ends up hitting a move on him and pins him 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that was it. Cole, it was over. So that match ended. And as well as most of y'all know, if you didn't know, that was Adam Cole's last pay-per-view with NXT, as reported that his contract was up after that. We'll get into that in the news on that
here in a couple
after
minutes.
that. Yeah, in a couple of minutes. But yeah, it was reported that it was his last match. So it makes sense that O'Reilly defeats him. And then the match of the night for the main event was Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship. It was a very physical, brutal match. I mean, they did a good match.
Right.
And Samoa Joe ends up putting Kross to sleep and ends it. And he is the new NXT champion, Samoa Joe. So that was a quick little that was a quick review of NXT 36, and that's what ended the SummerSlam weekend. So
yeah, it was a very busy weekend for wrestling.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Now,
I know we kind of discussed, we're not really going to get too much into Raw. There was a few key points that we wanted to talk about. It looks like where they're going for the women's championship. Charlotte Flair was out there doing an interview. Alexa Bliss did interrupt her. Looks most likely that she's going for it. And from what I'm hearing, and I never really thought about this, really ain't like a rumor or nothing, but from that story I read, I don't remember where I read it at, but they think Alexa Bliss is going to win. And they say that because they said that when Charlotte Flair wins the belt, she always ends up losing it real quick. So they think they're going to end up giving it to her. And I've never really thought about that. I mean, I know that Flair does have a lot of, championships, and then she does lose quick. Hence the last, few months. But they think Alexa Bliss is most likely going to probably end up taking the title off of her.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, they could do it that way. I mean, WWE's been known to do some weirder stuff. So
yeah, I think that will all depend on if they keep going with this whole, her character.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it looks like almost like they've got Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley now after this Raw. It looks like they're going to go into maybe the tag team division now.
Yeah, I think so too. An odd team for sure.
Right.
I mean, we thought Randy Orton and the Bros an odd team, but I don't know. That's really an odd team. So I don't see them changing Ripley's character to try to be a superhero too. But at the same time, I don't see them changing Nikki Ash character to being kind of like Ripley. So we'll see how long maybe that'll last.
And a possible other feud, which I'm reading into it as it could be, and it may not be. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but potentially it looks like they're shaping up Bobby Lashley versus Damian Priest down the road here. At first,
yeah.
And then they went. Looks like maybe Sheamus might be another contender for Bobby Lashley coming up to Extreme Rules. I mean,
Yeah, this is the one I brought up to you that I actually think some way somehow this match is going to be either a triple threat or a fatal 4-way for some reason.
Right.
Because I honestly almost think that Drew McIntyre will get put back into this feud somehow. I don't like that, but I think somehow it's going to end up being 2 good guys, 2 bad guys, which if you think about it, that'd be Bobby Lashley, Sheamus, the 2 bad guys, and then you would have Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. But I don't know.
Well, but see, the thing is, though, if you remember at Hell in the Cell, Drew McIntyre signed that paper saying he could not compete for Bobby Lashley, for the title as long as Lashley was champion. So
yeah, that is true then.
So I mean, I don't see that. Now I could see him, going with Sheamus maybe or Priest. I don't know. I really don't know, but that's the way they're looking right now. So
Priest don't make sense because he's a U.S. champion, and I don't see why they would attempt to do that. Sheamus don't make sense because of the fact of he's a bad guy, and they don't usually do bad guy versus bad guy. But Raw was
who you got left?
Well, I know. I'm just saying, but Raw is all over the place right now. So that's why I honestly think it's going to be more than just a one-on-one, because they're going to make they might do something interesting and do something like that. And then that way, because if they do make it like a 4-way or something, they're going to be like, oh, Sheamus, or not Sheamus, but Lashley's got to, defend it against 3 other people, and he doesn't have to pin to lose his belt, So then if he would win that, then they would be like, oh, this is just going to solidify his, his tenure even more,
Right.
So that's just my prediction. Like I said, I ain't heard nothing on that. That's just based on how weird they did Raw. That me right now early on thinks that's where they might go, but I'm sure we'll probably get a more inkling next Monday on Raw.
Speaking of Raw actually broke over 2 million views for the first time in 18 months.
Huh.
And they hit a demo. They hit a 0.64 on the demo. It was interesting. They actually broke.
A surprise.
I know it. I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, but over 2 million viewers since the first time in 18 months. But speaking of Raw and stuff, did you see today where USA and NBC aren't happy with WWE right now?
That's one of the things I was talking about earlier that I was going to bring up in the news and rumors.
Okay, well, we'll get to that too.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the one where they're upset that SmackDown's so stacked.
Yeah, and Raw's not. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I didn't read the article, but I seen that where it said like NBC USA Studios is upset with how stacked they've got on SmackDown, where now they got so many big names that they can't put everybody into one thing. So
right, they were saying that WWE's way to resolve it is going to be the draft.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, like I said, which is kind of surprising. I can maybe see them. Well, I don't see them moving it up unless they decide to do it the Raw and SmackDown after Extreme Rules.
Right.
I feel like that'd be their best time to do it, but who knows? But other than that, on Raw, really wasn't nothing else really to get too excited about.
That was all I had on Raw. It was just those few little things. Oh no, I lie. Hold on. So Miz turned on John Morrison.
Yeah, that was the other one I was talking about, how now, because they did Eva Marie Doudrop, turned on each other, and now they did Miz and Morrison. That's why I don't think that they'll probably do the Mysterios like that, because they've already got 2 of them back to back so quick. But
right.
But I think we all saw that was coming eventually too, because this has been ongoing for a while. A lot of people are liking it because I think it'll get to show it. Miz I never used to really be a big Miz fan until more recently. I've liked him a little bit more, but all his silliness stuff was kind of was okay, and then it just got overrated after a while. But
right.
I hope they bring him back to more serious note now and go that direction. So.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Anything happen on NXT Tuesday?
Yeah. Can we take a break for a second?
Yeah. All right. So how'd you feel? How'd you feel about NXT on Tuesday? I didn't catch it, of course.
Well, honestly, they it was recorded Monday. The next three, Monday and then the next two are both going to be pre-recorded shows.
Right.
So I didn't watch it. I just kind of read up on everything that was going on with the show. Let's see. Really, it looks like Dunn's going to be the next potential person against contender against Samoa Joe, but Vince Dunn's contract is due up with WWE real soon. Supposedly they made him an offer and stuff, so not real sure what they're going to go with that route.
Right.
Gonzalez had a chit chat with the potentially new contender. Now, when I was talking about the Grimes thing or whatever, he threw out $100 bills with his face on, or $1 million bills or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're already on sale on eBay.
That ain't no surprise.
But they actually wrote the title off. The $1 million title's no longer there. DiBiase's gone now. He got into they did the speech or whatever. He got in the car and left, and he gave Grimes like a replica title.
Yeah.
Not the actual $1 million. He switched them out or something. So it looks like that's gone now for that aspect of it.
Could you tell much difference yet on the rebranding part of it?
No, not yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, that's what's being talked about.
Because they're saying that Johnny Gargano's going to go heel, and just some other stuff they're going to do. They want Walter to come over to the U.S. and wrestle on NXT there. I don't know. They might try to bring him to the main roster. I don't know, but
right.
There wasn't a whole lot to it. They just did a whole lot of just I guess kind of recapping stuff, but it wasn't a lot there for me to be all excited about. It was just more of, here you go. So we'll see. It's going to be up in the air the next at least two events because they're pre-recorded. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens there. But
yeah, so last night I watched a little bit of AEW. I mainly wanted to focus in on because CM Punk did show up. Really not a whole lot of newness out of him. Just kind of hyping up a little bit the match for All Out. There was he did drop a hint in there as to referring to Daniel Bryan. So we've talked about it for the last few weeks that he is supposed to be going to AEW, but nothing has been confirmed yet. But if anything's indication, that would have kind of showed it last night that it's probably going to happen. But Jericho and MJF, that whole situation looks like it might be coming to an end. We thought it was already done, but Jericho requested one more match. If he does lose, then he is out of, or not out, but he can't wrestle on AEW no more. I don't like when they do that because it always usually means that whoever says that always ends up winning. But as we have talked, that Jericho is supposed to be going on tour soon with his band group, and just because he's going on tour, don't mean he still can't, be part of wrestling every few weeks. So I don't think the band touring will affect too much unless he does go out of the country. But I don't think he's supposed to be right now, from what I've read. But I could be wrong. But I didn't want to watch much other else. I don't know if you caught anything interesting besides those two big things last night.
No, you summed it up. Jericho challenges MJF at All Out.
Yeah.
We all know that CM Punk's going to be challenging Darby Allin at All Out. Now, one thing, if you're into the tag team division there, which I kind of follow a little bit because the Young Bucks have held those titles for a while. The Lucha Brothers were successful last night.
Yep.
And so they're going to go on to face Jurassic Express on Rampage this Friday night. And the winner of that match Friday night will determine who faces the Young Bucks at All Out in a steel cage match.
Yeah, I think not the Lucha Brothers or whatever, but the other guys are going to win, I think.
I've heard through the news rumors that people are thinking that maybe the Lucha Brothers are going to end up winning.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that's going to be the case, but because and this is what I found interesting. Rampage was also recorded in Milwaukee too.
Yeah, I knew they were in Milwaukee. Yeah,
it's not going to be live Friday night. It's going to be pre-recorded. So,
okay, never mind. You're talking about this coming. Okay,
yeah. This coming Rampage is going to be pre-recorded.
Gotcha.
One thing I did find interesting, though, I don't know if you saw it, was the Kenny Omega and Christian face-to-face they had down there at the ring.
Yes, I didn't finish it after the CM Punk part.
When Christian was going on about Kenny Omega and Don Callis and all this stuff, and Kenny Omega says, "You think you know me? You think you know me?"
That's an Edge reference.
That's an Edge reference there. Yeah. So
see, now that makes sense as to why maybe Gangrel would have been there last night. Then, so they could have made that pretty cool, but
right. But they didn't go that route. So
right.
I mean, that was really about it. They kind of gave a rundown of the All Out card. Andrade's going to first pack at All Out. And like I said, the winner of Friday night Rampage is a match between the Lucha Brothers and Jurassic Express will face the Young Bucks. But at the pay-per-view, of course, we already announced the other two: Kenny Omega versus Christian for the AEW title. And I forget who else, but those are just some of the matches that for the card that happens on September the 5th. So it'll be interesting to see. And that right there wraps up the shows for the time we for our week that we do our show. So
yeah, it's like I said, not a bad week in wrestling. I think it's going to slow down for a couple weeks now until all out pay-per-view, and then whatever starts to come about for Extreme Rules.
Right. So I guess we can go into the news and rumors section of the show.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's really all we got really left to really cover. I know we've talked a few of them already because they went with other stuff that happened over the weekend and everything. But I know you took more of the notes on this, so go ahead and.
One thing I did read when we were talking about this about Raw, Bobby Lashley and who he might face. They said that the dream match between Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley was squashed according to Sportskeeda so they could protect Lesnar. I guess apparently they were going to, maybe have Lashley beat Brock at some point if they went with this dream match that Lashley had been wanting. But apparently WWE squashed that.
Right.
So I found that kind of interesting. I guess hence the reason why they sent him to SmackDown for instead of Raw.
The only disappointing thing that I have about I mean, I want to see the Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar part, but I feel like they should have saved that for like a bigger name pay-per-view.
Oh, I agree with you there, but I guess there's still hopes that they're going to get The Rock at the Survivor Series. So
yeah, but
I don't know.
I don't consider the Survivor Series a big pay-per-view anymore, though. Even though it's a main pay-per-view, but they did.
Well,
it's
lost its luster. Yeah, it's lost its luster.
That was always out of the top 5 pay-per-views that they did. Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and King of the Ring. They used to be the old one, but they don't do King of the Ring no more. But Survivor Series always used to be my least favorite of the big 5 because I never really cared for the 5-on-5 matches and stuff.
Right.
It wasn't. And now I don't kind of like how they do it now. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, because they want to do Raw versus SmackDown guys sometimes, but. I don't know. Just don't care for it. I'd rather than bring back the King of the Ring pay-per-view and get rid of Survivor Series.
Right. Well, and going on to news, I talked about this with Adam Cole, his last match being with WWE at NXT TakeOver 36. PW Insider, well, originally they said that, I guess it was on Monday, that his contract wasn't up to the 27th, which is tomorrow.
Yeah.
At the time we're recording this is Thursday, 26th. But according to PW Insider, as of yesterday, they had confirmed through WWE that WWE has stated that Adam is 100% a free agent now.
Yeah, we already figured that anyways.
Well, yeah, but then I seen where he's supposed to make one more appearance on WWE television before his contract's up. I don't know if that was what they were, maybe a pre-recorded deal that they did with on NXT or whatever they're doing. But I didn't actually.
Well, from
The recording has stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
I guess we had a little technical difficulties there. All right, can't hear John.
I'm back. I hit the mute button. But sorry, but like I said, he's a free agent. But apparently, originally his contract wasn't up till tomorrow. Now he's a free agent.
I don't think if he wasn't on NXT this last Tuesday, he ain't going to be on there at all no more.
Right. I mean, yeah, he's done. I mean, that's the stint. So,
and plus, it sounds like the way they, like I said, I didn't see it, but evidently the way they ended that match, it makes it sound like that was kind of maybe a riff that they did against him, maybe.
Right.
For the way they ended it, but I don't know. Like I said, I didn't watch it, but.
Well, Kyle O'Reilly came out and said that people were going to hate that ending. They hated that ending to the match, but
yeah, it
is what it is. We discussed, we talked about, let's see here. One thing I do have in the rumors section, I don't know what you have in rumors, but, and I kind of said something about this Saturday during our kickoff show to SummerSlam, but it was reported by Dave Metzler of Wrestling Observer that Bray Wyatt is to sign with AEW.
See, that's weird you say it, because supposedly Chris told me that he heard that Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, and Buddy Murphy are all going to TNA Impact. Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
I told him that I don't see Bray Wyatt going there, but I can see the other two for sure.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because I did read, I think it was yesterday, that Buddy Murphy is going to Impact Wrestling, because supposedly his debut or whatever was ruined because I guess he got out that he's going.
Yeah.
But then supposedly at Bound for Glory in October, I guess it is, Braun Strowman's supposed to make his debut in Impact.
Gotcha.
So that's what I heard. Again, those are kind of rumored out.
Right.
But I have not heard anything about Bray Wyatt. I just heard that he was supposed to sign with AEW when he can. I guess when his contract's up or whatever, his 90 days, that he can, do it. So,
yeah. Speaking of King of the Ring, supposedly they're going to be bringing it back, but they're going to do it during like Raw and SmackDown. And from what they're saying is that the finals will take place at Crown Jewel.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know.
They're just trying to hype this pay-per-view. So is that going to be the only pay-per-view for October is going to be Crown Jewel?
I mean, I don't think so, because they don't really consider that one of their pay-per-views. It's always like an extra special show. So I don't know.
I don't know either. We're going to have to figure it out, because
we got to figure it out.
I said we need to figure it out what they're going to do, I guess, down the road, because we know Extreme Rules is going to be in September 26th.
Right.
But it was originally supposed to be in October. That's what makes me feel like they're making the Crown Jewel the pay-per-view for October, man. I hope not. I really do, because I just feel like that, that's a special show, just like they did, what is it, the Superstars or something like that?
Yeah, the Super Showdown.
Super Showdown, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, really, that's all I have in the news and rumor department currently. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the SummerSlam, and we did discuss that, Becky going heel. They did say that was her idea, according to several outlets. Welcher Report, Sportskeeda was another one, that Becky turning heel was her idea.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. That was her idea, but then it was Vince's idea to do the quick.
Right, the quick ending, yeah.
Yeah.
So I do know, I guess, we're going to hear from, I guess, Becky Lynch, and I would only assume something with Lesnar on Friday Night SmackDown. We'll see.
Would you see they're doing like a Super SmackDown or something?
Yes, I did. I don't remember. I didn't read anything really about
read a whole
his
lot in
last.
either, but I thought that was just kind of odd because we're talking about like Lesnar and Becky Lynch are going to be there. I'm like, well, they should be there no regardless for any show because, especially her being the champion. I mean,
right. Well, speaking of Lesnar, and I meant to tell you this. We were talking about this in the thing, but I read that they're going to go babyface with Lesnar. They're going to make him the babyface.
oh yeah, I mean we already should have figured that just because Lesnar,
right?
Because
but he's never been the babyface. Really, he's never really interacted with the crowd.
I don't think he still will though. I still think he'll kind of. I mean, he'll be the face of it, but he ain't gonna. I don't see him doing a lot of the talking very much.
Well, that's another good question. Who's going to do the talking for him?
Right. That is. I don't know.
Because it's always been Heyman.
Right.
But Heyman's with Reigns, so I'm curious how they're going to play that out too.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, overall, like I said, it's been a pretty good week. I think we're probably going to run into it's going to probably slow down for the next couple of weeks until probably about draft time. I don't expect any big changes or, anything crazy to happen at Extreme Rules, which is kind of weird. One thing though about the Extreme Rules, if you look at the artwork, like I thought the artwork was kind of weird because Extreme, they always try to make it look all like crazy. And even the video package, they've already kind of shown, talks about like the hardcoreness, but then you look at the graphic for it and I don't know, it looks like too fancy to be, anything like Extreme wise, but I'm just,
right.
Just maybe thinking too much into that, but yeah, so like I said, we covered a lot. I know usually we don't like to try to like just give recaps of, everything that happens, but SummerSlam had a lot go on, so we just kind of broke through on everything on that. But yeah,
right.
Like I said, we hope everybody's tuning in. Each week we can see our followers that are going up. We are building our audience. We did, like I said, we did do a live feed. The next pay-per-view, I know we still got a few weeks away or whatever, so, we'll talk more about it. But we're hoping to try to do, I know we talked about maybe doing All Out. I will be out of town that weekend for All Out. I might be able to do it on the phone. We'll discuss that as it gets a little bit. I think was that next Sunday? That is next Sunday. So we'll figure it out. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's on the 5th.
Yeah, next Sunday. So
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see on that. We are gonna from here on out. We're gonna try and do our live feeds on the Facebook page of the Two Dudes with Attitudes Wrestling Podcast. We should be able to start sharing it, and I'm doing it on multiple Facebook pages and all that too.
Right.
We're looking at all that. John's still handling the Twitter, the TikTok, right?
Yeah, Twitter and TikTok. YouTube right now, we ain't really doing anything with that currently.
Yeah, I mean all the videos are posted on there, but we're focusing more on the the audio side with Spotify and all that than the YouTube. But like I said, originally the audio was the main factor of all this. We just kind of wanted to give the fans, kind of a little interaction with us to see who we are and all that. And
hey, real quick, according to I just pulled this up real quick since we were talking about it. According to Frightful Select, Mac Middleton of Wrestling Inc., Lesnar signed a new contract with WWE that will last roughly a year and a half and could feature 8 matches.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so the first bout more than likely will be against Roman Reigns, which makes sense considering he had to stare down at that. That's really about it. He's 44 years old and could have another chance at the belt. But listen to this, okay? This is going to piss you off. The 44-year-old could have another chance at the belt with a feud against Reigns with WWE Crown Jewel in October, potentially setting the stage for the fight.
I wouldn't surprise me. They want it because they ain't gonna. And they want to. They always want to stack that card for the people that run that show over there. So that's why it don't surprise me. I still doubt I watch it, but it is what it is. We'll see.
But yeah, I mean, so back to what we was talking about. I'm sorry to have really swept the subject there.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to try to do All Out, maybe depending on how that goes. My schedule, and try and get Jason and Chris's schedule, whatever. And then, of course, like you said, we're going to try to do it on the Facebook page. I'll leave a link on Twitter, and I will. I can't really leave a link in TikTok. It doesn't work that way. But as time gets closer, I'll remind people if we decide to go that route.
Yeah. All right. Well, sounds good. As always, this is Two Dudes with Attitudes Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Jason. This is
John.
We appreciate everybody tuning in and listening to us. Like I said, we appreciate all the likes, the downloads, any subscribers and stuff like that on YouTube, and check out the Two Dudes with Attitudes Wrestling Podcast on Facebook. But until next week, we'll see you all then. Have a good one.